I see you're thinking about selling your house. And if you're like most people, you want to know kind of what the process is all about. So that's what I'm going to go through today. Hi, I'm Chris. I am with HomesN719.com. And in this video, I'm just going to run through a few things to give you a rough overview of the process of selling a home. I promise you I'm going to oversimplify some of these things, but I'm just trying to give you a high level view of what that process looks like. And let's get started. So on the screen here, you're going to see a list of different things that we have to go through when trying to buy or sell a home. Most of this stuff is for the seller, right? So you got to decide if you're going to sell a home. If you do decide, then you've got to decide whether or not you're going to hire a realtor or not, because they're not free and can be quite expensive. Expect to pay somewhere around 6% of the sales price to the commission for the commissions of both agents. That's right. As the seller in Colorado, it's very typical for the seller to pay both the commissions for the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. That's not in stone. You can negotiate that. However, changing away from what is considered to be traditional can affect the buying and selling process, how long you're on the market, and a whole bunch of other things. So if you go down that road, make sure you talk to a realtor who can explain that to you thoroughly. It's almost a separate video, so I'm not going to go into that here. And it's very dependent on the situation too. So once you decide you're going to pick a realtor or not, if you're going to go down the for sale by owner route, definitely research all that stuff and make sure you follow all the legal stuff that you need to do, because you are practicing real estate law at that point, trying to sell a piece of property. I have done that. I bought property from a seller directly. I've never sold a property to a buyer as one of my properties. I'm a fix and flipper, so I buy and sell properties all the time. But before I was a real estate agent, I bought several from sellers directly, and then I always use a realtor to sell them because I thought the value was there to pay a realtor to do the marketing and negotiating and all the stuff I'm about to go over with you, and let them worry about that and provide a very important intermediary between me and the buyer's agent. I think that's very important, and a lot of value we provide, that agent provides for you. So if you're going to select a realtor, you got to learn how to do that. What is a good realtor? What's a bad realtor? Here's a few quick tips. Number of transactions matter. So they have more iterations of buying and selling homes. They've dealt with more problems, and they can typically solve them faster. Now, that's not a huge deal, because even a new agent always has an employing broker or works for an employing broker who has lots and lots of experience. So even if your agent doesn't know the answer to a particular question, they can always reach back and get that answer. It's nearly impossible for any realtor to know the answer to every question. So it's their network and their team of peers and things like that they use to resolve your situations quickly and as smoothly as possible. And it's also who they have in their network as far as lenders and contractors and title companies and all these people that we have to reach out to, carpenters, electricians, and roofers, and all these things that we have to have quick access to, so we can resolve your problem as quickly and as efficiently, hopefully as cheap as possible, while still doing all the right things, following all the right permits. So you also got to, with a realtor's going to complete all the forms for you. In the state of Colorado, realtors are required to use very specific forms for all real estate transactions, and that's because that prevents those forms from being manipulated in such a way to be overly beneficial one way or the other for the buyer and the seller. The language in those documents are very neutral and try to incorporate every possible conceivable thing that can happen and disclose it in advance. Now, the drawback to that is these forms are quite long. The state forms are about 18 to 19 pages. They do change every year, and they have a whole lot of sections that likely do not apply whatsoever to your situation. So unless you filled them out a bunch of times, all the little blanks get a little confusing. Ask me how I know. I tried to fill them out before I was an agent. I was like, wow, this is a lot of stuff. But if you're doing a FSBO, for sale by owner, you don't have to use any of these forms. So you can just buy and sell it on whatever form you want to use and take it to title or not. Always recommend you take it to title. But if you're seeking for sale by owner and you've not been a realtor before, you probably should at least speak to an attorney and make sure you actually transfer the title and deed of ownership to the new person in the right manner so it doesn't come back and bite you later. That's one of the things I always worry about with for sale by owners. It's not you're not selling a car here, you're selling real estate, and that's a little bit different. So along the lines with all the forms that we have a lot of disclosures. Disclosures are there to allow the seller to tell the buyer everything they possibly can about that piece of property, as if you want the buyer to know everything that you know, and I mean everything. So you want to lay everything out, any repairs that have ever been made, anything that's been fixed or not fixed, when the roof was replaced, paint. I mean, if you've got it, I disclose. Give that information to the buyer. If you fail to tell the buyer something that you absolutely should have known, you can be held liable for it down the road, and no, their home inspector will not be held liable if you don't tell them. So don't rely and say, I'm not going to tell them anything. That's up to the home inspector to find that out. And that's not how that works. It's up to you. You are required to disclose that information to the buyer. So make sure you do that. And if you work with a realtor, we give you a very long form to fill out to try to help you remember all the things that you need to disclose. So, and if you don't work with a realtor, that form is on the internet at Dora.gov, I think, or Dora. Yeah, just search Dora, Dora, and look for their forms. It's all there. The next, you have to prepare the home for sale. So you've got to decide a lot of things. Am I going to leave everything in the house? Am I going to clean it? Am I going to declutter it? Am I going to fix anything needs repairs? Am I going to upgrade anything? All of these decisions need to be made, and a realtor can advise you on them, and in some cases provide you contractors to help you do that quickly and efficiently. And whether or not it's actually wise to do so, because you can do some things that you won't get any return on investment on. So why would you bother? If you're going to sell the home, there's certain things that will get you money, get you more money than you spend to do it, and other things won't. And some of them are real simple, and some of them are more costly. So that's where a few of the things a realtor can really help advise you on as to the pros and the cons of each one of them, and then let you decide what you're going to do, and tell you based on that what the side effects are going to be and what you should expect if you do X, Y, and Z, or don't do X, Y, and Z. So next, you got to decide if you want to do open house and showings on your property, thereby allowing strangers into your house. Now, a few things. First, there's always a realtor with anybody that goes in your house. So if a buyer's coming in, the realtor has to gain access to your house, and they walk them through that house. They typically and shouldn't let them just stroll through the house, but some do. So make sure you secure all your valuables and make it, don't leave it on the counter kind of thing. Make sure everything's kind of hidden away, and make sure your pets are locked up. And I say this as much as possible. If you can lock up every pet you got, please do that. Cats, dogs, birds, whatever it might be, because there's nothing more stressful in a home buying process when the seller says, oh, my dog is friendly, and then the buyer's agent walks in with a family with kids, and a dog rushes at a little kid. As friendly as the dog might be, the kid typically is terrified. The parents are even more terrified because they don't know the dog, and it can really cause for some stressful stuff to occur. Additionally, if the animal was to get out of the house, that is not not anything the buyer or the sellers or the agents, nobody wants that. And I've seen that happen before where an animal gets out. So I know it's not ideal to have your animals locked up for a day, maybe while you're at work in a kennel, but definitely do that. It's better for the animal. You put them in there, put a blanket over it. That helps them stay calm. And keeps little kids from poking their fingers in, and if something goes bad with that animal being loose and bites a kid or something like that, even through the cage, you're liable. So I wouldn't recommend you open yourself up to that. Definitely secure them up, give them to the neighbor, mom and dad if they're nearby, whoever it might be. It just makes it easier and safer for everybody if those animals are locked up. Next, open houses are interesting. There's benefit to it for the seller, but there's a greater benefit to the agent in that we get to market your house to your neighbors and buyers that come in that aren't represented. We get to try to bring them on as and try to represent them. So it's kind of a mixed bag. I'm still trying to decide who gets a greater benefit. I think it's the agent rather than the homeowner, sadly, but it does from time to time allow people to come through on a more free schedule on the weekend rather than just on a very scheduled time. The next thing you got is offer analysis. So if you get one offer, that's not a real big deal. If you get 5, 10, 15, I've seen 60 offers on a house before, and the agent will go through and try to organize those into the best offer based on what we know for your situation and what you've told us you want. If it's, highest price or quick sale or no conditions, those kind of things, and then we try to rank them into the top maybe 1 to 5, and then walk you through those offers so that you can understand what those are and in what the pros and cons of each one would be and how that affects your sale, and then allow you to pick which one you want to do. We can't tell you which one to pick, but we can definitely advise you as to which one we think you should pick based on your circumstances, and also point out some things that might be hidden to the average consumer when they look at it and go, oh, that's a good offer. Well, it might not be because of this or that, because of the language or the way things are written, it may not be completely obvious that they're not going to close for a while, or the loan that they have can be a little iffy sometimes, cause problems, or their pre-qualification letter isn't exactly pre-qualified, or what does that mean? So things like that. There's some things that still aren't ironed out the way I would like them in the real estate world, but an agent can try to explain those to you so you're not caught by surprise. HOA docs. If you live in an HOA, you're required as a seller provide a very specific list of documents to the buyer for them to review. If you're unfamiliar with how to get those documents, it can be kind of stressful to get those because you are on a deadline to provide those to the buyer, and it's very quickly after you agree to sell the house to them. You sign that offer letter. So those are some things that good realtors like myself, we actually provide that service to the seller so that you don't have to worry about finding the documents and finding all the right documents, because there's about 14 of them, and get them to the buyer in time for them to review them without canceling out their offer. Coordinating home inspections and appraisals. So with that, we're trying to coordinate with the buyer's agent when they can get into that house and provide them all the due diligence documents that we've agreed to in our offer or in their offer. So when the offer comes in, there's a list of things that the buyer wants to see, and we need to make sure we get those to the buyer in a timely manner in addition to the HOA documents so they can review them. And then when the inspection comes back, we review those, get those to you so you can see it and advise you as to what would be traditional, what kind of things are typically fixed or not fixed, and then who are the resources to get those done in a quickly manner. Can we get them bid quickly for you so you understand the cost? All these kind of things need to happen in a quick fashion, and I have found with sellers that trying to figure that out while they're trying to move or pack or work and pack can be overwhelming, and try to get that done, where a realtor can work through that because we do it so often. We can work through it very, very efficiently for you and make it almost seamless and effortless. So the next thing is, submitting all these contracts and everything to title to make sure that the title insurance can be processed properly and vetted and given to the buyer at time of sale. And then coordination across the board with, HOAs and neighbors and home inspectors and appraisals and the buyer's agent, the buyers and the buyer's family, and reminding you to turn the trash off and switch your utilities off and turn the utilities on at your new place, and all these things that need to occur. An agent is kind of there to help you walk through that and not miss anything and try to keep you informed ahead of what's going on, and always trying to communicate, okay, this is the step and this is what's going to happen next. This is what could happen next. And if it does, this is what we're going to try to do about that. That's our goal. Or I like to tell the sellers that I work with and all the clients, buyers and sellers, that I'm trying to make this process as boring as possible. And the reason for that is quite simple. Whenever things get exciting, that's usually not exciting for a very good reason. In other words, things are going bad. And the buyer's agent or the seller's agent, we've got to try to orchestrate that, and that's where an agent comes in. The two agents come in very handy, is that the seller and the buyer sometimes can get very agitated with the other party. The agents in the middle are supposed to be not emotional, calm, rational, advising each one of their clients as to what's going on, and then getting and following through with the wishes of the buyer or the seller, and communicating that in a way that doesn't raise tensions. We want to calm everything down, keep it smooth, keep it quiet, keep it boring, and things go a lot better, I have found, if we do that. And it all comes down to communication, knowing when to communicate, who to communicate with, and how often typically results in a bad transaction or a good transaction. So these are just a few things, if you're thinking about selling a home here in Colorado Springs, that you need to be considering and having someone guide you through. I think, like I said, even when I bought houses professionally for myself, I still used an agent to sell them because of the value I saw in it. And now that I am an agent, I see even more value to that. So, if you have any questions, please feel free to give me a call at 719-332-3628. Again, 719-332-3628. You can check out our website at homesin719.com. There's a whole bunch of information there and a whole bunch of other videos on YouTube. So hopefully you found this video useful, and I look forward to talking to you at your convenience. Thank you very much, and you have a great day. Bye now.